live. Holy crap. Did I not go live? Oh boy, I was not alive. No, you gotta be kidding me. Oh man, I actually... Wow! Boy, that was such a big mistake to make. Now hold on. Just hold on a little minute. Although I wouldn't believe that I definitely would have made that mistake, wouldn't I? Just a little moment. Let me check something. Oh boy. I was talking to myself for a whole hour. I even didn't know that. I guess it's good. In a sense, I was talking to myself a whole hour and I didn't realize it. Oh my gosh. YouTube, why are you such a hard platform to use? Oh my god. I really should have enabled it to start, shouldn't I? Well, this was a mistake that I've made and I can't go back. This was such a mistake. Was I technically late for 2 hours? Holy crap. Did I not stream for like 1 whole hour only to realize that I've been streaming for, to myself? Oh no. Oh, I guess that's good enough practice. So, hello. Oh man, this is such a massive screw up actually, now that I think about it. I was talking to myself for 1 whole hour and I did not even realize it. Man, I really need to get used to this OBS thingy. Just a moment. Yes, I guess this is what happens when you are too nervous. Alright, let's do it again! Let's go! Let's do it again! I'm gonna talk to him again for another hour. Right, let's go. Let's do it again. I will talk for another hour. Talking about my debut. You guys did not know that I was talking for an hour to myself. Without realizing that it says you could go live now on YouTube Studio. This is what happens when you're too nervous. Alright, so, as like how I did it just now while I was still talking to myself. please watch this video that I've made that spent 3 days making. Let me look for it again. There we go. Alright, please enjoy. Actually, hold on. Oh, please don't do that. Just give me a moment. Let me mute this. And I'll mute myself. Please enjoy the video. Alright, so like I was saying, I did say earlier, that video took me, that story, someone took that video, I have no idea who apparently actually, maybe it's the guy, oh well, so yeah, that video took me 3 days plus to make it, and that included the hours before I started the stream. So I rushed in another hour of work to try and get the video done. So yeah, it was a pain. I wouldn't call it a pain, it was fun to make, but having to figure out, like, I have it written, that there's a script, script that I did write for quite a while, but I just didn't really take the time to really like, hey, what do I need for this video, like that stuff. Breaking the meta, so that was breaking the fourth wall, but back to character again. So yeah, that was a pretty nice story, wasn't it? I wonder who could it be? Isn't that so weird? A story about someone that looks like me. Oh well. Maybe we'll come back to that videos. Maybe we'll come back to that story sometime in the future, for all you might know. Who knows? Alright. So let's move on to the next segment. Oh, I have to do this all over again, don't I? Alright, no, I could just think of it as that was a practice stream. So yeah, I was in a practice stream for an hour before I actually started this. So yeah, I have an hour's worth of experience of streaming before doing my debut stream. Yes, truly suffering. Now feel free to leave comments in the chat. I would still be able to read them. So yeah, you can enjoy this beautiful little smartphone. I'll be looking through my smartphone. I can see what you guys write, and if you guys don't like to write, I know you guys are there. Yay! Anyway, right, what did I wanted to do? Oh right, yes, this. So, voila, magic. As you can see, I've blown up the screen behind to talk about myself. So, does it look like this? Yes, it does. Hey, look, it's me. It's me again. So, as you guys might know, my name is Aeter Canoir. In Japanese, it's pronounced as Aeter Canoir. Canoir. Yes, Aeter Canoir. Canoir. That's a very weird way to speak in Japanese, but sure, let's go with that. I am 30 years old. Am I 30 years old? Well, you might know I might be lying. But yeah, as you can see, it's written there I'm 30 years old. So yeah, I'm of average height, you could say 176 cm. So that's the general height. That's the average height of man in certain countries, I believe. Not sure where, but I'm pretty sure that's more the average height. That's the average height of a grown adult in where I'm staying, that's for sure. As you can see, my birthday is 27th October. Yay! It's still a while to go, but yep. Maybe a birthday stream for all you might know. Let's go. Next slide. As you can see, my occupation. What is my occupation? It says radio host. Yes, I am a radio host. I really do enjoy doing what a radio host does, which is talking about content, talking about, you know, like if it's like a radio show, we talk to the listeners, talk about news. Well, it actually depends on the contents of the radio show. Actually, it depends if it's a is it a news broadcast? Is it some sort of radio game show, or is it a variety show, that kind of thing? Think of it as like it's TV but without the visuals. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what a radio is actually. Anyway, so yeah, I do enjoy my work as a radio host. But there was a story about someone as an exorcist. I wonder, it looks very much like me. I wonder why. So yeah, I am a radio host. And you might want to you can look forward to me trying to host similar things, but this is like my first time doing this YouTube thing anyway. So I wouldn't really call myself a radio host if I'm doing something that has visuals? Question mark? So yeah, I would love to do a more visual form, a more cooperative form of what I'm already doing, which is talking about things that I want to talk about, topics and stuff. So yeah, I can next, let's go to the next one actually. As you can see, I can speak 3 languages. I can speak English, that's why I'm speaking right now. And then I can speak Japanese. Nihongo wakarimasu, Nihongo shaberimasu. Hi. Yes, so I can speak Japanese, and I love doing this whole I can't speak Japanese as a foreigner, so it's like no, Nihongo wakarimasen, only English. Yes, I love doing that. I have no idea why, but I love doing that. So it's like you got to understand that it is the most fun thing to play on like this kind of like stereotypes. I mean, as a joke, of course, not like you're not using it on actual people to degrade them, but like it's as a joke, like a commonly run joke, that kind of thing. So yeah. And I can speak Mandarin Chinese, trust me, I can speak Mandarin Chinese, but I can't seem to get it up for some reason. Like, I can speak to people. I can speak to friends. I can speak to family. I can speak to close friends that like automatically I can just speak Chinese. But if I had to force it out, I'll sound very weird. Alright, you know what? Just give me a moment. Let me try to compose myself to try to speak in Chinese. Oh no, it just doesn't want to come out. Hold on, just give me a second. Okay. 大家好，我是 Aeter Canoir，请多多指教。No, it doesn't. It just sounds so weird. So it's like, oh, I had this thing before. I just realized. I just remembered that I had this thing before. That I have spoken in Chinese, and I had a close friend, like a friend, that was like, oh, I was playing FF14 at the time. I'll talk about the games that I played later on, but I played FF14, and so at that point I was like, oh, we have a friend that prefers to speak that understands Chinese much easier. She can speak Japanese too, but for some reason she prefers to be like, it's a lot easier for me to be speaking in Chinese as compared to speaking in Japanese, despite for how long I've been learning Japanese too. So we were raiding in FF14, so we were doing, I think it was a Pandemonium Savage, second floor, the second tier. So it's like, oh hey, you have to do this motion, you have to follow this, you have to follow that. So we were like, I was like on the chat and I was speaking. We were in the voice call. She wasn't speaking, but I was like, oh, for this part you have to do this. For this part you have to go here. Don't forget about your knockback mitigation, that kind of stuff. So I had to say all of that in Chinese, and once in a while I come off as I don't sound like what I am right now. I don't sound like what I am right now. So sometimes when I speak Mandarin Chinese, I sound very much from like a native person speaking Mandarin Chinese. And I don't mean native as in where I'm living, but native, like, you know, China Chinese kind of speaking. And she did ask me, it's like, are you a mainlander? I'm like, no, I'm sorry, but no, I'm not a mainlander. I do not speak. That's not usually how I will speak Chinese anyway, so yeah. But for that case, for some reason, it came off as that. So it was a really interesting experience to have someone say that I speak like a mainlander Chinese. So yeah. Alright, let's go to my likes and dislikes. So, I have a lot of likes and some dislikes. There should be more dislikes, but I just wrote whatever came to mind first. So likes, I like sweets. I like sweet stuff a lot. Not to the extent where I just eat sugar. I'll just lick sugar off like a spoon or that kind of thing. No, that's insanity. That's not liking sweet stuff. So I like sweets. I'll talk more about sweets in the next part, but yeah, let's talk about sweets. So I like sweets. I like sweet stuff actually. And when I play games, well, definitely I play games, but in my free time I definitely do play games. I'll talk about that. I'll talk about what kind of games I play, but I don't think that people would think that, like, you know, traditional games are considered as games. Where people say, oh, I play games, people think, oh, video games actually. So I play traditional games. I play chess, I play Chinese chess, if anybody has heard of, I play animal chess. I have played a lot of traditional games in terms of like research for studies and stuff. So I've played board games, I've played POW games, I've played dice games, I've played card games, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, not just video games, which I'll talk more about later. Photography, yes, I do enjoy taking photos. So I have a camera. I own a camera, a very simple one. So if I were to happen to go out with the camera, I'll enjoy it. I'll try to take photos of as much of the things I see, what's going on in the world and stuff. A lot of scenery photos, but once in a while I try to take actual people. So maybe, I don't know, attend a con, attend the event or something like that. Take cosplayers, I guess. But I've not done that for a very long time, so yeah. And most of the time, if I don't have the camera with me most of the time, so I'll end up going around with my phone, taking photos like, oh, something interesting, it looks nice, I'll take a photo of it. And I do enjoy taking photos of animals, lots of cute animals around. There are cats, there are dogs, people have pets. There's like wild animals like wild rabbits, or you can once in a while you see like a pet rabbit walking out in the cityscape, surprisingly. And you get to see quite some nice, quite interesting things in the wild, and not really say the wild, but even in like nature reserves and the parks. I have seen like monkeys, I have seen like wild boars. I don't think I have a photo of a wild boar in whatever I have right now. But I've taken photos of monkeys, I've taken photos of like lizards, like overgrown lizards that just roam about canals, drains, or even local parks actually. And otters, there are otters in this place, in the place that I live in, so otters are actually quite nice if you don't provoke them. Contrary to what news tend to report once in a while. So yeah, I enjoy taking photos. Hello, nice to meet you. You didn't miss anything. If you're new here, you have not missed anything. This is my debut stream. I totally did not talk to myself for 1 whole hour without realizing it. So let's move on to fashion. Right, what do I like about fashion actually? I like branded. I don't really say I like branded stuff, but there are brands that I follow. So like shoes, be like shoe brands like Nike, Adidas, all this kind of stuff. I just look at the trends, I look at what's new on the release. Does it look nice? Do I want them? How much does it cost? Is it out of my paycheck? That kind of things. But when it comes to that, at least comes to shoes. If it's like clothing, there are a bunch of like clothing brands that I look at that I actually follow. There is a brand that I like the most. I'll tell you guys in the future, but I'll let you guys think what is my favorite brand. So yeah, I do look at what's new, what's trending. Usually you can tell what's the trend around in the place that I stay in. In this place that we call, in this country that I stay in. So we tend to look around and you can see like, oh, no, I'm not a hype beast, don't say that. I'm not a hype beast, don't say that. I hate that word. No, don't call me a hype beast. So it's like, you tend to be able to see what's the trends on the streets. You can see what people are wearing. There are brands that I don't like. I actively talk them down. I don't talk bad about brands. I usually criticize like what they do and things that I don't like about it. But I mean, I try to keep it objective, so at least it's fair. But yeah, there are brands that I don't like. Sorry. But yeah, I enjoy talking about clothing. So it's like, hey, what brands do you have? What are these? Like, do you see this? Do you see this new lineup? Do you see this new t-shirts that they released? Do you see this new pair of pants that they released? Or are you like, do you follow this brand? If you do, maybe you're interested in this brand. They do share similar silhouettes, they share similar designs, and so on and so forth. Oh, but yeah, I do. I really like talking about it. So it's like what designs, what makes you stand out, it's a form of expression, really, fashion. And I believe that everybody can look good. It's not about a matter of, oh, only, those models get to look good, like us normal people don't get to look good. But be it you're a nerd, be it like an otaku, or if you're like a big size, or if you're like super lanky or short, I believe everybody can look nice. As long as they do some research, they look into what they like, No, I'm not a drip master. Don't call me that. There's no such thing as that. There's no drip involved here. It's just talking about sense. You just need to know what kind of fashion sense you're into and stuff. Oh my god, I can't stop. I can't stop laughing. So no. Okay, but the moment I start speaking, I start smiling. Oh crap. Oh yeah. So yeah. Yeah. So I believe everybody can look nice. It's just whether how much effort you put into it, how much you do your research, figure out what fits you or not. It's a lot of experimentation, I would say. So yeah, that's fashion. Alright, sorry, just give me a moment, I need to drink some water. My throat is drying up. Right, the tart of a water bottle. Anyway, anyway. Let's move on to Tokusatsu. Yes, Tokusatsu. I love it's what some people would call well, yeah, it's somewhat like what it's like the counterpart of like, oh, girls like magical girls, that kind of things, like Mahou Shoujo, that kind of things. Like, yeah, this is the Mahou Shoujo for boys, which isn't wrong. I would say it's not wrong, but yeah, I enjoy Kamen Rider a bit too much. I do watch like a lot. Even as a kid, when I was in the younger days, I do watch a lot of it, and even up to now, I still watch it. And although sadly, I don't really own a lot of toys about it as much as I really want to, but someday I'll own an actual belt someday, and it will not be like the main rider belt or something like that. I have this obsession with like secondary riders or like even tertiary riders or like the special ones, and it's never about the main character. I have this weird thing where I don't really like to collect toys about the main characters. I like to collect toys about like the side characters, like, oh, the secondary character, that kind of thing. Most of the time they are a lot nicer than the main character actually, even in design wise. So yeah. Alright, next, select classical music. Why do I say select here? I mean like, I actually really mean select. Like, I only listen to like some classical songs. I don't listen to like a lot of classical songs. So like, let's see, what did I set for my alarm clock? So yeah, I use this was it Sonata 2? Was it Violin Sonata 2? Hold on, just give me a moment. Yes, Violin Solo number 2, Sonata for Violin, Solo number 2 in A minor. The second movement, Fuga, that is one of my most preferred classical songs to listen to, but I don't really like listen. I do listen to like the next movements, like the Dante and everything, but I like the Fuga part the most. Same goes for some of the songs, some of the other pieces, like Four Seasons, by Chopin. Oh no, I'm gonna get killed for not knowing who are the composers for it. But yeah, so like Four Seasons, the spring, summer, autumn, winter movements, they are all very unique and very individualistic. But I like the winter movement the most because it starts off harsh, like how you would talk about like, oh, winter, the snow, it's cold, the winds are strong, you're probably gonna die out there, it's harsh. But then in that piece, it does go on to be like, it gets comfy, you feel soft, you feel warm with like it as much as winter is about the harsh cold season, it talks like in the winter movement, it shows it does let you immerse yourself into the festive season also. So it becomes you feel very comfy, you feel very comfortable, you feel very relaxed, despite it being like, oh, it's like cold outside, but you can imagine yourself being in the house, sitting by the fireplace, spending the festive season with your family and friends, that kind of thing. So yeah. And there's one other piece, I think it was Paganini's Caprice? Yeah, it was it Paganini or something else? I can't remember, but yeah, it's one of the Caprice that done by Paganini, and one of the violin pieces that I enjoy a lot. I listen to it quite a bit. Yeah, and that's what I mean by select classical music. Right, next, anime. Yes, of course, anime. Are you an otaku? The younger me would say like, oh, I'm so proud to be an otaku. What do you mean? But like, no, not nowadays, not anymore. I just don't say anything about it. Sadly, I don't really watch much anime nowadays. I do read a lot of manga, but if I do tend to time I try to read anime. Actually, read anime while I just sit there. I like to watch anime if I can, if it's like more in season, usually the newer ones. So the more recent ones that I did watch was like Paripi Kome. Yes. Or if you like to, or if you have heard the localized title for it, it's called Your Boy Kong Ming, which baffles me how it makes sense, but let's just go with it. I'm not an official translator after all. Yep. So, there is one this season. I think it's called Licorice Recoil. It looks pretty promising, so I might consider watching it. I might do. Do I want to do a watch along? But we'll see in the future. So yeah. Oh right, like I forgot. I actually forgot to mention this. But speaking of fashion, in the future, we might get a fashion talk show or like a fashion talk thingy, like a stream going on where I talk about fashion. You guys tell me what you wear, how do you dress up. We can talk about some simple things. We get to learn from each other. Yay! So that's just the tangent of going back to fashion. It's alright. Next is I write culinary here, but it's really more about like cuisine. It's more than just that. So it's more than just cooking. It's just looking into cuisine, understanding how it works, the different techniques that chefs are trained to do, or you could just like as an amateur, as a casual, you could pick it up, try to understand, learn from how they do it, that kind of stuff. And all that stuff. So like, oh, it's nice. I enjoy it. Like once in a while, I would cook for myself. Most of the time, I'll cook for myself, or for people if they are around, and stuff. So like, I would say the simplest things to cook are like curry. It's really just throwing things together. You throw the curry block in. I mean, if you're not making your curry from scratch and you're just doing store-bought curry, it's one of the most easy things to make. So yeah, I do tend, there are times where I'm like, hey, I would like to cook this dish without actually doing any research. I'll just look at the image of it, like, I think I know how to do this. I can handle that. So yeah, so I would like to do, there was this one time I was making cabbage rolls. So in Japanese it's like roller cabbage. Yes, rolled cabbage. So it's just cabbage and meat, or like depending on, usually pork. You could put beef in it, but I usually wouldn't do that, but it's usually pork and cabbage. So what I did to make that dish was like I just bought a whole block of cabbage, like this one round block of cabbage. I have no idea how you describe a unit of cabbage, but yeah, that's what I bought. So 1 unit of cabbage, and I bought like some pork. I didn't buy pork slices. I think I bought like a whole lump. I think I bought, did I buy lean meat or fatty meat? I can't remember. No, I'm not Master Chef now. I'm just an amateur. So I did make it. Then okay, so what I did, so generally the idea was that you're just gonna cut the cabbage to strips and then line the meat along with the cabbage, and you just roll it up together, fasten it together with a toothpick, then steam it, or whichever way you prefer to cook it. So in my case, I cut the raw cabbage, lined it up with raw pork, and rolled raw cabbage. If you are not, for the uninitiated, you can imagine how lettuce. Imagine lettuce but harder. Oh god. So imagine lettuce but harder. So it's like, like it can snap. It's not like lettuce where it's like, oh, it tears. Cabbage can snap on you if it's hard enough, when you hit like the hard parts. So cabbage can snap. So I did that raw, and raw cabbage is tough where you get from the leafy ends to the stem, the harder ends at the core. So what this guy did was to roll raw cabbage with the meat. I mean, sure, if you don't roll up to the harder ends, it's fine, but it still gets really stiff and it's really hard to fasten it together. So what I did was I skewered it with toothpicks so they hold its shape minimally. So after that, I prepared a couple and I just put them on the plate, I steamed them, and I had it with like soy sauce on the side. So it wasn't that hard. It honestly isn't that hard of a dish to make. But so sometime into the future, sometime like a week or two after that, I went for this I went to this place where I practice my conversational Japanese with like the Japanese volunteers there, or people that want to practice their Japanese too. So I was speaking to some of the Japanese housewives. I was like, oh, I made raw cabbage. I made cabbage rolls for my dinner some other day ago. And I was like, oh, they're like, oh, how do you make it? And I was like, oh, I took raw cabbage and I just rolled it up with the meat and I just steamed it just like that. And they looked at me and like, oh, you're supposed to like, par cook. You're supposed to like par cook the cabbage so that it softens. It's a lot easier to roll. Then you roll the meat together with it and prepare it however you want. So at that point, I was like, oh yeah, wow, why did I not think of that? I was like, there's this like galaxy face, that galaxy moment where it just zooms out and like you look at it and just, oh, why did I think of that? So yeah, that is my experience with cooking. But yes, I love watching cooking videos. I love watching how people cook, learning from them. So yeah, I like the way I chop onions now, like tamanegi. So how I chop onions nowadays, it's really much from the video I watched about Gordon Ramsay teaching like how you should be chopping, how to dice onions. So I really follow that method quite. That's one of the few things that I follow quite strictly, religiously on. Yeah, so hello. So that's how I would cook usually. So yeah. Next, let's talk about history. Yes, I'm not exactly what you call a history buff, but I love reading up things like, like World War One, World War Two. I don't really read up about World War One actually, but I read up mostly about World War Two, the history of countries, the history of battles, what kind of battles happened in World War Two, historical equipment, so like ships, planes, tanks, cars, well, I guess cars, weapons, and all that kind of stuff. So I do read them about that. I do read up a lot on them. At the same time, I do read up on things like countries like the British monarch. How did it progress from kings to queen? All that kind of stuff. How did the Soviet Union dissolve? Okay, I didn't really read up on that, but somewhere around those lines. So yeah. Yes, this one. Japanese culture. Oh, you're just like otaku or you're a weeb. No, that's a really fine difference between like actually liking the culture and just liking anime. Like, I do, as much as I enjoy anime, as much as I enjoy like games, Japanese games, tokusatsu, all this kind of stuff, like I believe that culture is one of the more important things that you have to learn about a country to actually say that you actually like the country and stuff. I do enjoy, so like the art, the history, the art of Japan, I'm not talking about like anime art at this point. I'm talking about like, you know, classical art, the Renaissance of Japan, that kind of stuff, and like a bit about the religion, like how does it apply into their culture, what kind of teachings does it apply into their culture at the same time, the way their politics are run, how do people act around other people, work culture. Oh, that's one thing I don't really like about Japan's work culture, is the Japanese work culture can be quite bad if you are looking at the wrong places. But with times change, with newer, younger people moving up the corporate ladder, changing things bit by bit, I guess it's a positive light that the work culture there is being changed, because I honestly wouldn't like to work in a situation like that. So yeah. Singing, yes, I do. Next. So next, singing. I do enjoy singing. Before this sickness, before this pandemic happened, so what to call a pandemic in Japanese? Let's call it hayari. Fuck, I can't speak. Oh no, I swore. Damn, done. So it's like hayari yamai. Yes, hayari yamai, correct. So this pandemic that's going on. Before the pandemic happened, actually, the big C, I used like almost, I would say at most twice a month, to go for singing for karaoke with friends, with people that I know. So yeah, like I do go for singing back then, like really just to enjoy. But when the pandemic happened, it's like, oh no, you can't go out, you can't gather together. And yeah, then at the same time, the place that we tend to visit for karaoke closed for renovations. And it just so happened the pandemic happened, so the renovation got delayed for really long. Yeah, so I believe it's opening soon. I think the renovations are going quite well from the times I've been I've just visited when I was in the area. So yeah, and sorry. So right now at the same time I've been picking up like singing classes. So I've got singing training, actually practicing learning how to sing and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I enjoy singing. I hope that the BGM isn't too loud. I've tested the stream beforehand, so just to make sure that the BGM isn't loud. And I wasn't totally talking to myself for one whole hour without realizing it. So yeah. Alright, let's go to dislikes. We've almost spent a half an hour from just that much of a thing. So yeah, let's go with dislikes. I do not... Okay, it's not that I don't like spicy food, but if I had the choice, I wouldn't eat spicy food. I would... If I had the option, I'll pick the non-spicy option. It's not that I can't tolerate it, it's just I have a certain tolerance to spicy food, but I would just prefer not to eat it because I do not like to put myself through that pain. Yes, no swear. I didn't swear. You did not hear me swear. So yeah. Yes, next. On the same topic of food, I do not like to eat bitter food. So anything that's bitter, nah. Although there is exception. So we have this thing. There's this Chinese herbal jelly. It's called Guilin in Chinese, but technically it means tortoiseshell powder jelly if you think about it. So it's slightly bitter. It's a herbal remedy. It's a herbal dessert actually, but it's slightly bitter if you're not taking it with like honey or with like a simple sugar, a simple syrup with it. But it's generally tolerable. It's not like bitter got bitter, that kind of thing, where it's like, oh, it's puckering bitter where I honestly can't take it. But that's one of the only few things that I can accept if it's bitter. And then the next one being like, you know, if you eat if you eat like pills, if you eat medicine, if you're sick, you take medicine, and then like the tablet or the pill just so happens to land at the back of your tongue, and it just slowly dissolves in the saliva, and that bitter taste just straight up comes up through your tongue, and you'll be like, ugh. That's the most disgusting feeling and experience that I would never want to experience ever again, because I do not want to fall sick. As you can see, I don't like being sick. Right, I put G here as if for the uninitiated it means cockroach, but like G stands for. So in Japanese, they don't really call it, they don't really say it by the name. So in Japanese, a cockroach is called gokiburi. So we call it, it starts with G, so it's go. It starts with G, so its short form is called G. In English, we just call it a cockroach, but going by, there's this Yu-Gi-Oh card that's about cockroaches. So there's this card in Japanese, it's called Zoushoku Suru Ji. Zoushoku Suru Ji, yes. So it just means the growing G in a sense, or the replicating G in a sense. But in Chinese, no, in English, it's translated as max C. So it follows the standard of like saying, like taking the first letter. So of Gokiburi is G and cockroach is C. So it just does that, which is quite well done. And yeah, so I do not like cockroaches. I do not like all these creepy crawlies. I can stand bugs to some degree, but I just can't stand cockroaches. Alright, moving on. I do not like crowded places. Like, as you can see, crowded places and loud sounds, these two are like my worst nightmare. I would not enjoy being dragged out to like a club where there's like a lot of people shouting around, loud music blasting in the background. Like, I wouldn't really like that. But the only tolerable exceptions for like loud sounds, it's like if I'm attending a concert, if I'm attending like a DJ party, because I know people there, that kind of stuff. And it's music that I enjoy, so that's totally fine. That's like within my realms of acceptance. But other than that, I wouldn't go out of the way to attend anything that is crowded or extremely loud. Sorry, drinking water. Right, like I mentioned, I don't like being sick. I caught the big C as in the illness, and I just recovered quite recently actually. Actually just a couple of days ago I fully tested negative, but yeah. So I don't like being sick because I have that body type where when I get sick, I don't fall sick easily. I'm that body type that I don't fall sick easily, but when I do, it's like, oh, you're going through the 7 layers of hell, but in the mortal realm. And it is, I do not like that feeling of being lying on the bed and groaning, be like, oh god, why did I fall sick? That kind of feeling. Yeah, I just don't like that. Then there's smoke, right? I don't like smoke. The only acceptable smoke that I can accept is barbecue smoke and yakiniku smoke. Technically they're the same thing, but when I say barbecue, I meant like, you know, those outdoor grill barbecue, and then yakiniku is those like, you know, the portable grill barbecue in a restaurant, that kind of thing. Those are the only two kinds of smoke I can accept. But other than that, if it's like cigarette smoke, or it's like, you know, when you're burning toxic stuff, that kind of like acrid smell, no, I just do not like that smell. I try to get away from them. Alright, let's move on to the next part. You can tell I'm actually quite... I am starting to run out of energy at this point, but I really am trying to press on. I'm really trying to press on. Actually, no, I'm still fine actually. I'm not that tired actually. But let's continue. Games. What kind of games do I like to play? I did mention that I did play a lot of traditional games. So it's like Mahjong, all this kind of stuff. I do plan on playing like streaming Mahjong. So maybe the Japanese Mahjong most likely, because that's one of the few more comfortable Mahjong types that I know how to play. I mean, I do know how to play the Chinese Mahjong, Hong Kong style Chinese style. I do know how to play that, but the more common ones are like the Japanese Mahjong. You can find them easily on like Jantama, like Mahjong. So I probably end up having like 1 or 2 Mahjong streams. I can play with people, that kind of thing. But yeah. Then there's roguelikes. So we are talking things like Souls-like and roguelikes. So Souls-like, most likely it's not really Souls-like. I really just enjoy playing Dark Souls. I didn't play the first one. I played Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne. Then there's I did play Elden Ring and I completed it. It was really fun. I really enjoyed every single moment out of it. Yes, Richi Mahjong. Yeah, Mahjong, Japanese, Mahjong. Easy. So yeah. Then we have, I believe that Bloodborne was one of the few games that I actually bought a PS4 for. I specifically bought a PS4 just to play Bloodborne, believe it or not. But yeah. And yeah, Elden Ring. I really enjoyed Elden Ring when it came out. I spent probably a week plus or longer just playing it. It was that fun. Yep, then let's go on to roguelikes. So roguelikes are a bit special. Oh right, I remember now. Yes, so there is this Souls-like roguelike game that I would like to play. It's called Dead Cells. I haven't mentioned it before, but I would like to get Dead Cells because it's one of those games that I looked at it and I was like, oh, I really want to play that. So there are games like Darkest Dungeon that I have bought that I have already played. And there's this one other game called Mistover. It's a Japanese game, actually. Japanese? I think it's Japanese because it's voice acted in Japanese. And it's one of those games that I really want to try. I would stream Mistover if I do get a chance to, provided I check up on its rights and streaming capability, like whether I can stream it or not, that kind of thing. So yeah. Adventure RPG. So let's just group that more into like just RPG games. I really do enjoy exploration. I really enjoy the whole role-playing section of like being in a fantasy, being in a sci-fi fantasy, that kind of stuff. So high fantasy, sci-fi, all that kind of stuff. I can't really put my finger on an actual like a recent adventure RPG that I played, but I think one of those games is like Transistor. I think Transistor is considered an RPG, so I have been thinking of playing Transistor. I've bought it, but I haven't really got the time to play it. So we might get a stream on that. Who knows? Mystery puzzle. Right, so I enjoy a lot. I like to think about things. I like to think about puzzles, think about mysteries, so like murder mysteries, that kind of stuff. So in terms of games, I remember there was this 3DS. Was it 3DS or was it DS game? Where I think it's called Ghost Trick, or is it or something around those lines actually. So it's like you play as this dead guy, this spirit, and you're kind of going back in time, trying to save people from dying, and you have to maneuver this series of like obstacles in the world, and you have to figure out ways to prevent them from dying. Like you will see how they die, and then you'll go back in time and you start off as you possess objects to stop, like you have to find ways to stop them from dying. I think that was one of the really nice games I enjoyed back in the days when the DS was still a thing. Then there is the Gyakuten Saiban series, the Ace Attorney series, which I enjoyed a lot. It's the same period when the DS just came out also. I do enjoy the spin-off, the Gyakuten Kenji, the one where you play as Mao's Edge of the rival, but as a main, like he has his own series, which is really nice, honestly. Right, so FPS. I don't really play a lot of FPS, but I do play them if I get invited to. So I used to play when back then when I didn't really have a proper computer and stuff. I did play things like Black Ops, just a little bit. I think I did play Titanfall. I did play Titanfall actually. Would you call Titanfall FPS? Yeah, I think so. So there was this, so when it comes to like FPS, there was a time where I was invited by a friend to play Apex Legends. So that was my first time being exposed to like the whole Battle Royale game, because in those days there were like PUBG and Fortnite. I don't really like those games. So when I was asked to play Apex Legends, I was like, half. you know, like half on and half off about it, and my friend was like, hey, you know what, just give it a go. You don't really like, you're not that good at FPS, right? And like, sure, why not? I mean, I'll just play with it. So I installed Apex Legends. Then I spent like the whole next 2 hours or so playing with said friend. And they're like teaching me how to, what are the legends, what do you do, is the ulti, the ultimate skill, their active, their passive skills and whatnot. And yeah, so as we've played along, we've played duo, we've played trio, then we've played rank, and so along the way, just on the first time that we were playing together, and my friend, the said friend, was like, "You lying twat! You do not suck at FPS games. You do not suck at this." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I'm bad. I didn't say I suck, but I'm just not into FPS games." There's like, what do you play previously back then? I played CSGO, I played like Call of Modern Warfare, I've played Call of Duty, Medal of Honor. It's like, you lying twat, you know how to play FPS games. You are not half bad at this. And so that's how I started playing Apex Legends. But I haven't really been following Apex actually, but I will play once in a while if I'm invited to play, but it's not something on my active to play this or to stream this kind of thing. Moving on. MMORPGs. Have you heard of the critically acclaimed MMORPG called Final Fantasy XIV with up to level 60 free trial, blah blah blah? I honestly do not know how the copy pasta goes anymore, but yeah. So, MMORPGs. I have played a fair share of MMORPGs in my time. When I say fair share, I mean like really 2 or 3 only, but I spent a lot of time on them. So one of them being one of the earliest MMOs that I really followed and actually went with it was Phantasy Star Online 2. That was one of the games that I played since its open beta days, met quite a lot of new people there, met some really good friends, and yeah. New Genesis is dead to me. New Genesis doesn't exist to me. PSO2 has ended at episode 6, and I truly believe that is true still to this day. So yeah. Right, and like I said, I've played FF14 earlier just now, so I do play FF14 more on a more frequent basis, so we might see streams where you just see me playing FF14, like maybe raiding content. I don't know. If you were to be more strict about certain games, they aren't exactly MMORPGs, so I might consider them as an MORPG instead. They are not massively, but maybe RuneScape, if you think about RuneScape, is technically an MMORPG. So I've played RuneScape recently. I went back to playing RuneScape recently, so I did not extend my subscription after 3 months, because I think I had enough at some point of the grind in RuneScape, but it's as fun as I thought it would be when I got back to it after a long while. So yeah. JRPGs, yes, JRPGs. It's really much of like just under the adventure RPG part. It's almost the same thing, but I guess it's more like I've played like things like Tales. I haven't played a lot of JRPGs actually, now that I think about it. So yeah. Fighting games. Truth being told, I don't play fighting games that often, but there was a period that I have played fighting games in my time. So my first fighting game that I ever played sorry. So the first fighting game that I ever played was like King of Fighter 95, if that's what I can remember correctly. But strictly speaking, the first fighting game that I actually followed through with its entire series was like Blaze Blue. So I started with Calamity Trigger. I played with a friend, played it on the PSP, and over time eventually it went from Blaze Blue, Calamity Trigger with the newer expansion, with the newer versions coming out in the future as time goes, like Continuum Shift, Chrono Phantasma, Continuum Shift, Continuation 2. Chrono Phantasma. I can't remember what's the last one. Was it Chrono Phantasma? The last one? I can't remember. So yeah, I've played BlazBlue for quite a long while. And cross-tag battle doesn't exist to me, technically. I believe that it's just the Axis series of all fighting games together, and it's not a BlazBlue title on its own. Although I've been wanting to play Persona 4 Arena for a very long time. The Persona 4 fighting game. I've been wanting to play that for a very long time, but I just can't seem to get my hands on it. And at the same time, the newer game that came out, one of the newer fighting games that came out was like Melty Blood. Wanted to get back to that. I've played Actress again. Yes, I played Melty Blood Actress again. I kind of want to get back to the more recent Melty Blood, just as like a casual, just playing for fun kind of thing. So yeah. Strategy games, yes, I have played a couple of strategy games back then. So I did play StarCraft, I think. I did play StarCraft 2 for a while. But you can clearly tell I'm not very good at it. And I think the one that I played the most was like... yes, Warhammer 40k, one of the older games that was on like the older platforms, older PC platforms. I remember playing that and I still enjoy that game, despite how limited you can play on it. But it's still fun, it's still a fun game. It's like technically a StarCraft game, if you think about it. So I'll breeze through suites rather quickly, so that's... we are here for almost an hour. Yes, let's go with that. So I'll just breeze through suites rather quickly. I like cakes, I like a lot. Oh god, my throat is dying, I'm sorry. Alright, needed to clear that. So I like cakes. Well, not just any cakes, like if I went to like a nice place, like a nice cafe, I'll really take a look at what cakes they offer, what are their staples, what's their seasonal items. I'll really give them a go. Candy. Who doesn't like candy? Who doesn't like sweet stuff? Like your caramels, your Mentos. Do you consider Mentos a candy? So like your candy bars and all that stuff. Like, who doesn't like candy unless you're diabetic? Then I guess you're missing out in life then because of health reasons. Yes, bubble tea. I like bubble tea. I like tapioca. Or in Chinese they call it 泡泡茶. So yes. There is that feeling of chewing on like the tapioca balls while having a drink. It's the nice part of actually bubble tea where I enjoy. But there is a problem with like sometimes if you buy like those very sweet ones with like the brown sugar fresh milk. I once in a while like to indulge in that, but it's a bit too much for me sometimes, I would say. So what I'll do is I have this staple that there's this go-to that I have when I buy at this specific bubble tea store. So it's just a simple tea and the bubbles itself, and that's good enough for me. It's refreshing enough and it's not that sweet, or it's like not that cakey for me. So I like that. Next, ice cream. Who doesn't like ice cream, honestly? You can't tell me that you don't like ice cream. So yeah, like ice cream, gelato, this two, they aren't really that different. There are slight differences, but honestly they are pretty much the same thing to me. And alternatives, like there's like sorbet. If you can't take cream, then you can enjoy fruits with sorbet. Sorry. Right, parfaits. Parfaits is just the amalgamation of cakes, candy, and ice cream together. So what's there not to love? Right, when I write Japanese desserts and Chinese desserts, it really boils down to more like the traditional desserts. So I like, for the Japanese side, I enjoy this like very simple red bean soup with like rice dumplings. I think it was Oshiriko. Yes, I remember it now. Oh god, Yes, I remember now. I enjoy Oshiruko. It's very simple. You can just make it yourself. It's a really nice dessert. As simple as it might be. And on the other hand, in the Chinese side, there is a similar one, just that they don't use red bean soup for it. They don't use like a red bean soup base for it. They use like a clear soup. Actually, really depends on where and how they make it. But there is this thing called tangyuan, where it's technically the same. It's also rice dumplings, but there are versions where they are stuffed with a stuffing. So they can be stuffed with peanuts, they can be stuffed with like a black sesame dressing, stuffing, that kind of thing. Or it could be like the non-stuffed versions and it just technically is a oshiruko, but not the red bean soup. So yeah, I like both of them. So pastries, like in terms of pastries, I do... no, I like pastries a lot. Like, what can you do with... So it's like a simple apple pie, apple tart would just make me happy. So there is this bakery called shorturl. Shorturl, yes. So they do like, well, most of the time, well, mostly they sell cakes, but they have this like side thing where they sell like this apple pie pastry. Oh no, low battery on my phone. That's fine. Okay, there we go. So it's like they sell this like apple pie pastry thing. Think of it as like a pasty. It's like a pastry wrapped and there's like a filling inside. So it's an apple pie filling and it's really nice, honestly. I recommend you actually go and try it. Then they have this chestnut one. It's technically almost the same thing, just that it's a whole chestnut but with a pastry outer and it's round. So yeah, they both are really good, and once in a long while I'll go and buy it. Like, you can have that for breakfast and you're good to go for the day. Alright, we've been here for almost an hour. I think this is it. This is the last part of the slides. Oh god. My throat is dying. But oh well. Alright, I think this should be the last one. Just let me check. Yep, it is. Alright. Alright. Okay. We have been here for an hour, and I honestly would like to think that I still have some things to figure out, like what should our streaming tag be? What should the... Actually, you know what? I think the important part is trying to figure out what the streaming tag is. So... let me... Streaming... no, that's not how I spell it. Streaming tag. So... I... Actually, truth being told, throughout this entire time when I was talking about it, I have not thought of a streaming tag still. So I wonder if you guys have any ideas for a streaming tag. Crap, my throat is really dying. I've been thinking, is there any way I could play on the name Aeter Live? I thought of something, so hold on. Nah, let's not go with that. So it's like a hash. Let's go with like hashtag. I'll be mostly on Twitter, and I'll mostly be streaming on YouTube instead of Twitch, because Twitch is a platform that I really enjoy. Boo-hoo, I don't like Twitch. Or you're just like YouTube. No, I just don't enjoy Twitch, that's all. So what could our streaming tag be? Let me think. Ooh, I like that. Aeter Flow. That is nice. Wow, yeah, wow, that is really nice. Thanks, Shade. That really sounds really good. Holy crap. I wouldn't have thought of that. So, I have a logo. I don't really have a logo, but I have like a streaming like the oshi, like in the Japanese side they have this oshimaku, like your fave icon or something like that. So for my thing, I think like as you can see on Twitter, what I do is like the radio mark. So I'll just write in is there a radio? Can I get it off Twitter? Hold on. And if I paste it here, does it show me anything? Oh no, it shows me as like a blank thing. Oh, a pity. But yeah. Hold on, I can get a hold on, I can get an image. What am I doing? This is OBS after all. I can do it. Just a moment. Let me grab it as an image. Just a moment. Images. Yep, there we go. Wait. Okay, let me get this in onto OBS. Oh damn, I really am a bit burnt out, I guess. Right. This is what I'm probably going to be using. This is what you can see on my Twitter. So yeah, this is going to be my Oshima. But other than that, I think that's all. What? So sorry. But yeah. I really think that's all for today. As you might have known that this is my first stream, my first debut stream, and I was not talking to myself for 1 whole hour before this actually. So I was technically 1 hour late and was talking to myself for a whole hour without realizing it, only to press the start streaming button when I was technically done. But yeah, that did not happen. So yeah, thank you all for coming to my debut stream. I will be using Aeter as the streaming tag from now on. So if you like, you can follow my Twitter. You can check in the description of the video. You can see where my Twitter is. Just drop me a follow and you'll see what my upcoming updates are gonna be. So keep a lookout. And I will be seeing... Oh, actually, wait. I just realized. I have no idea what to be calling you guys. I could be calling you just my fans. That wouldn't make sense. Right. And name. What could it be? Well, I'm a radio host, so I make radio time. I could just call you my listeners, but that just is a bit too lame. That's just too simple because, I mean, come on, like, most of the Japanese libels, they call it listener-san, and like, this is just calling them, like, as your listeners, like, that's the way of greeting them, but this has to be, like, a more special way. So, maybe. How about this? Since it's Aeter Canoir, you can listen noirs. Ah, that makes sense. So you guys are my listeners. Maybe, I think that works. Right. I am so bad at making up things like that. I think that's why nobody asks me when it's like, hey, could you think of like a name for something? And like, I really can't think of such things for myself, for the love of me. But hey, I have to do it for myself in this case. So yeah. Whew. Alright, thanks for joining the stream. Thanks for listening out here. Thanks for attending this debut stream of mine. Oh, let me just make things bigger. Arg. We would most likely have like a, you know, like a just chatting stream once in a while, but I prefer to have like more interactive streams, like playing games, having you guys coming up, talking about games and stuff. So you can keep a lookout in the future. I would most likely release a schedule when I can. I'll most likely take some time tomorrow to just rest. And I would like to see what I can think, what other plans I can make up in mind that maybe you might enjoy having a just pure Japanese stream or something like that. So yeah, or like a pure Chinese stream, and in the future maybe collabs with other people for all you might know, but steps at a time, one step at a time, slowly. No giant leaps for me in this case. So yeah, thank you all for listening in, and I'll see you guys on the other side when I can. Goodbye.